What is up, my nerds? Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. We're working on a new project, Project Radd Max. This stuff's going in it. We're going to check it out. Radd Max is an X Max that I have, Traxxas X Max, that's going to get the full upgrade. We get a lot of folks that run our stuff in X Maxes, and we want to make sure that we have hands on that. I've had a very standard X Max for a long time. I ran it with a Max 6 speed control in it and the stock motor on 6S. I love that truck. I eventually put one of these in there. A buddy of mine gifted me a motor mount and put it all together for me. I didn't even have to do the install. He took care of it. So I have had that truck running for a very long time, and it's been awesome. One of my favorite trucks is my X Max. So we're doing Project Radd Max, which is an X Max with all the upgrades. And we're going to go through and do a series of videos of installing all this stuff. But before we get to do all of that, we're going to talk about these motors, the difference between a Max 5 and a Max 6, and some of that in the build-up. And then I'm going to take everybody through the journey of me upgrading this X Max. If you've seen me work on RC cars, it should be enjoyable. But first things first, let's get into this. So the most impressive pieces of all of this are the motors. We're quite familiar with Max 5, Max 6. We'll touch on this. It'll get its whole own episode on the install, but we're going to save this for a little bit later. What we want to focus on today are these motors, these gigantic motors. I need to give you something here for a point of reference. I have small hands, so all the boxes look big, but there's a programming box. You guys all have programming boxes at home. That's how big it is. I mean, these boxes are massive. So we're going to pop these guys open and show them to you side by side. The difference is the most easy to use motor is the 4985, mainly because it has a 5mm shaft, and those gears are pretty straightforward to find. The 5687 and the 56113 have 8mm shafts on them, so it can be a little trickier, but we'll touch on some of that in a little bit here. So we're going to pop all three of these open real quick, put them side by side, and get you some items for reference. You know how big the box is, but let's look at the motor. You ever see those unboxing videos? They always have a cool knife and they do a trick. Yeah. So this is the 4985. It's a very large beast. It's big as my hand almost. Hold this up next to, this is a normal 3652, a 540 size motor. There you go. Look at that. Psh, you're a little guy. I've seen these before, but it makes me laugh every time to think that this is going to make an RC car go. I'm sorry, that's funny stuff. Oh, that is three very massive motors, and you can see the differences in the shaft sizes. 5mm shaft, 8mm shaft. But let's talk about the differences in these motor sizes and what the numbers mean. 4985, so that's a 49mm diameter and an 85mm length. That's the key to all of these motors. The 3652 is 36 diameter, 52mm length. Kind of same idea. And that runs down the line here. So you see the 5687 is basically about 2mm longer and a little bit bigger diameter. And then you get down here to the 56113. He's 113mm long. That's a huge motor. I bet you I could put this in the cubics and make it go. So this guy, because it's a 6S rated motor because of the 1650 kV. I haven't really run mine on 8S yet. Did I? Maybe once I ran it on 8S and it was way too fast, so I stopped right away. Like I said, I have this in a pretty basic X Max with a Max 6 now, and I run it on 6S most of the time, and not even good 6Ss. They're like, I want to say they're only 50C, and you can get them to sap out and do all sorts of funky stuff and overheat the plugs and all that. But so this guy's kind of a beast of a motor already. I'm very excited to get all the stuff to mount these guys into my X Max. So beef motors. Back to the kV. So this is a 1650 kV. This one's an 1100 kV, and this is 800 kV. And I've heard that folks, when they run these in their X Maxes, they gear them in some pretty astronomical numbers, like 35 spur gear and a 30 pinion, stuff like that. And I'd love to hear from anyone on the internet if that works, because if that's a true story, I'd love to see that. motors all have the temperature sensor. Now it's confusing to say that these are sensorless motors and they have a sensor in them, but this is just a temperature sensor. It's not a normal like motor sensor like you might be thinking. The Max series of speed controls is going to get an update where the temperature sensor is going to plug into the speed control as well. That's not something that's happened yet. It's a hardware change that's been working for a while. So we get some questions about that. What are these for? That's for a future upgrade. And then take a look here on the mounting surfaces as well. You can see that this motor has a row of 3 kind of side by side and outside, same with this guy, and then the smallest of them has the normal kind of 4 motor holes that you're used to. And this is so these guys have a little more options, the 5th scales and the 6th scales and the 7th scales and all that stuff that's out there. They are all kind of unique in their motor mounting, and these are all 4mm hardware on the screws too. Also, I do need a little bit of help from the internet. Have you guys put any of these into an X-Max already? Can you send me some pictures and an email? And I'm going to use that as kind of my motivation to build Project Radd Max. I've seen a little bit here and there, but I would love to see some actual, I guess you'd say, fans take on this stuff. So if you're got an X-Max that's maxed out, you got your own Radd Max, send me some pictures, give me some ideas of what motor mounts you use, what gearing you use, some of the stuff you've bashed and broken already on your X-Max, and I'll make sure I keep an eye out for that. But Project Radd Max is something that I've been very excited to get started. So this is to kick things off. If you follow the podcast, RC Stuff, powered by HOBBYWING, that I do with Jordan Tempkin, we made some mentions of Project Radd Max, and he suggested me jumping a house. Now, I'm not jumping the house with the Radd Max, I don't think. But maybe you guys think that's a good idea, maybe not, I don't know. Thanks for joining us, everybody. If you do have any questions, comments, or concerns, please send us an email, NorthAmerica@hobbywing.com. Thanks a lot. Those are some beautiful motors, but how big are they? Well, there's a banana for scale to give you an idea. It's almost as big as a very large banana. Those are some huge motors.